beautiful scene from the outside. And unfortunately, we cannot take Dior out there anymore, so I'm sort of like on strike because of that. Oh, and let me just adjust this ever so slightly. Because I'm a little bit on strike because of this whole not being able to take Dior out. I'm just kind of inside dealing with this right now. I wanted to talk briefly about like unemployment and experiences that I've had from the years of working in different jobs. And the last one was a big like eye opener because most of the time I would be the younger person being hired by the positions and the jobs, right? And in the situation of the last job that I had, which was at Buck to Rock, and I'm not even gonna like not say it, but Buck to Rock was started by the director who graduated me from the Corcoran. But I had left the United States in 2003 and um, I moved to South Africa to do my master's in arts. When I moved back, or actually in 2003, yeah, 2002, I was in South Africa, moved back to South Africa, 2002, no, 2003 was when uh, David Levy, who started Buck to Rock, started Buck to Rock. He created, I think the first one was in Bethesda, so I ended up in Bethesda, not as if he hired me. I was hired by somebody who obviously thought he knew everything in the entire universe, but in the end didn't because everybody in that school had no idea how to put together furniture. And what I had learned at the Corcoran was, welcome in. I'm just talking through my experience getting fired from a job and then getting on unemployment the first time around. So I'm busy giving a history on the job that I got fired from because I'm still a little upset because I know it wasn't my fault, which is why I won my case the first time, right? So Bach to Rock was the job that I got fired from, not because of me not knowing stuff, but maybe because I knew a little too much and the director was threatened because he was 26 and I was like 42 or 43 at the time, and he had issues. Oh, thank you. Yes. No, I thought it was a good day to wear it because I haven't worn it out yet, and the plan was, what would you like to talk about? I was busy in the process of walking through. Yeah, it's a talking day. It is a talking day because I was supposed to do a live yesterday. In the end, I didn't do like a live. It's my husband's birthday tomorrow, so we had a celebration yesterday, and that's like the whole thing. And then tomorrow he wants to do another celebration. So I'm sort of like limbo at the moment, debating on what I should be doing and when I should go live. You are giving life. Oh, thanks. I don't have any music in the background. I am I wanted to talk about this whole, I don't know, like people, like I'm older than a lot of the people that are becoming like managers and directors right now. So it was like a bit of a shocker to realize that the younger generation is getting hired for directors jobs and they don't always know what they're doing, which is how I ended up getting fired in the first place because they didn't know what they were doing. And I spoke it out and I said what I had to say and I won my case for unemployment the first time. So, yeah, I've had my moments. And I know a lot of the people that are coming onto my channel are like younger people. I'm not a young person. I am probably your parents' age if you're in your 20s or 20s or in your teens. I'm definitely like your parents' age. Okay, so that's like the misconception is that people assume that I'm younger, but I'm actually not. I'm just short. I'm not like the Western-sized person. Yeah, so that's my thing is I'm not a young person here. So I'm busy talking through my concerns about the youth and the generation that is still trying to like just came out of high school or college and they're going in for like the managerial jobs and maybe wanting to do directorial jobs because they know people who are in connection to the people who are like running the school, right? Or the university or the corporation, is that they're getting hired or people are getting hired for things that they might not necessarily know about because they haven't had life experience, okay, job experience. And for me, that's like a big thing because that's one of the reasons why I started my own LLC because I already know. And I worked for government. I worked for the American Embassy when I was younger, okay? But I took instructions. I listened to people. I followed the guidelines. If they said don't do this and don't speak about it, I did what they said and I did not speak about it. But I think with those skills come a misunderstanding. So when you sorry, that was my husband calling. I have to like sort that out later. Hold on. Let me just let him know. Give me 2 seconds. Let me figure out how I can contact him. Hold on, hold on. Oh, lordy lord. Hold on. Uh Yeah, so the biggest concern right now is that, you know, I remember going in, this was the last job I had working for people, is that the manager or the director who was in charge thought that he knew exactly what he was doing at the age of 25. And I was like double his age. I was probably his parents' age. So for me to go into a place and actually listen to a guy that really had no clue what he was talking about, like really like I followed the instructions, I listened, I heard them out, but they were so clueless in the university. Not the university, the school, the music school that I had actually like worked in. That I finally I don't know. I was basically I walked in, they wanted my help for the first few days to test to see what I was capable of doing. And this whole IKEA thing, like everybody talks about, oh, we don't know how to figure out how to like put together an IKEA desk or an IKEA piece of furniture. I walk in, I studied the arts. So when I studied the arts, I learned how to build furniture by like with tools. That's construction for me. And if you gave me a tool set, I would know what I'm doing. I'm not just like a little girl who can't figure out things, right? This is somebody who didn't lose their fingers in a class where we had like circular saws and angle grinders, whereas everybody else was like not listening to instructions. That I finally decided that okay, so going back to the whole thing, I didn't lose my fingers from building furniture because that's what I did. So when I had worked at Bach to Rock, I am just calling it out because it is what it is, and I am really pissed with what had happened because they obviously didn't know what the heck they were doing, right? So that was like my thing. It's like you can't have a director who's 26 years old and have him run the show because he knows people. The guy who hired me was actually working for the director who actually graduated me from university. So I obviously I was like, you don't even know how to put furniture together. So this whole IKEA concept, people had gone in and out of this office a few times. They had like this whole collection of furniture and they were just like, we don't know what to do. I was like, you guys are like, you're guys here. Guys should know how to build and put together like furniture pieces and how screws work and drills and saws and whatever. These dudes had no clue. Here I am walking in. 30 minutes later, I walk out. I say the job is finished. The job is finished. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, you guys are you're being directors and managing a place and you don't even know how to put a piece of furniture together. That's really sad. And that just goes to show that people do not follow instructions anymore. Like when I was in the embassy, I followed instructions. If they said, these are the things you need to do, I did it. Like I didn't hesitate. My dad was a US diplomat. Okay, so he was like the boss of a boss. in the American Embassy for, like, different jobs. So I had jobs that were, like, in situations where you weren't really supposed to talk about the situations that you were in, right? So that's, like, the whole thing. I worked in different jobs in the embassy in I worked for the visa department in South Africa, and I also worked in the embassy in Tokyo. So I had different positions when I was in my 17s and 16s and late 20s, right? So, like, I've had jobs in office government spaces. So for me to be fired from a job that really had no clue to, like, how to put together and manage an office space was beyond madness. Was beyond madness. Like, if you know anything about Bakhtarak, I recommend don't going there. Don't take your kids there. I'd recommend going to Guitar Center. I would not recommend Bakhtarak at all. From, like, a former staffer who knew that she knew what she was talking about. I got fired for making masks. Okay, I walked in wearing one of these before the pandemic, and they had a fit. They had a fit. They lost their marbles. They didn't even know what to think. Over this. I got fired over this because they didn't know what this was. In Japan, when you live in Japan, you know that masks are a big part of people's lifestyles. And you walk around with a mask in your pockets if you're on the metros and stuff. That's normal lifestyle in Japan. That's like a normal thing. The United States was not planned, and they did not organize the situation. That's why the pandemic got so bad, is that people were not preparing themselves for situations. I was a lifeguard for the US Embassy. So for me it was like I focused directly on how to save my life in an emergency situation, right? You learn how to make things. I also, the second time around that I saved my life was because I broke my leg. But when I broke my leg, I positioned myself and placed my body in the car so I would create like a splint. Like, I would make sure that I wouldn't move too much because the injury was quite bad when I had gone to the hospital. So the pandemic had created this palava. People didn't know what these were about, and making something like this, these 22-year-olds just were like, it's called not living a life and experiencing a lifestyle. You have to learn how to make things from scratch because these things will save your life in the end. I was also in hospital in South Africa from a very, very bad situation. And by making things like this, I didn't go crazy. I got myself out of hospital after 6 months of being in hospital. And I have life experience, basically. And my concern is that the youth are not, they're not preparing themselves for emergency situations. And I feel as if, as somebody of my age, and I started my own LLC and I build and create all sorts of things, I feel as if it's important to be aware that people of 20 and younger don't know everything. They don't. I didn't even know everything at the age of 20 and younger. But I feel like if you're going to manage and direct an environment, you have to have a little bit of living experience, lifestyle experience to really know how to manage or direct a place. You can't just go into the place and, like, talk your way into a job and then claim that the job knows, like, oh, you really know what you're doing. Whereas if you're in an emergency situation and you panic and then you tell everybody you're all fired, that's not showing people responsibility. It's showing people that you're scared and fearful of the things that you don't know. And that's what it shows. It shows fear. It shows fear. And when a manager or director does not understand the basics of constructing things like a mask to save people's lives, or making sure a kid doesn't run into the street because the school was across the road, not even across the road. Like, there was like a main road, and then in front of the main road, there's like a door that opened, and there were like kids running in and out of these like roads. And I'm just like, you can't have a school where you have these little young people running around and assume that, like, they're safe. You can't just let them out the door. You have to watch them. Who's there to watch them? Nobody was there watching them. So I'm venting today because I'm still a little mad. Nevertheless, I managed to get my unemployment the first try because I followed instructions. And you follow instructions and things happen on a positive spectrum, even if it turns out to be a bad situation. So my the reason why I'm doing this live is because I just want the younger generation to know, okay, and I know that you guys are all like younger people, the younger generation to know that it's important to think. Don't just assume. You got to think with your head. Like, be be responsible, be constructive, be aware of the things that are happening around you. Don't just dive in, tell everybody, oh, you know what you're doing, and it's actually not true. Okay, this is the first time I'm actually doing something on like I've done social media. I've managed to get myself to do like a whole bunch of things, but I was working like jobs. I worked jobs. So this is like the first time I'm actually getting on social media and like kind of engaging and interacting because it's not this for me was not normal. I worked in office spaces. This is like I made, let's put it this way. I made a lot of money working in office spaces. Like social media was not the one that was generating the money for me. This was never a thing that I had to worry about. You know what I mean? It wasn't like something I had to think through. Uh, Jobs give you a certain amount of security versus a social media presence unless you're kind of growing it on a very meticulous and methodical way, which is what I'm doing right now. And in order to like everybody tries to be like the coolest, greatest like social media advocate, but it's not this was never my plan. The reason why I'm on here is because I got fired from a job because the idiot who fired me was too scared to accept the fact that he was not that bright. They're probably like smoking their socks or something in the back. Who knows? But you need to have one knowledgeable person in the office, like helping the process out, rather than them firing the people that actually know what they're doing. So, anyway, that's just my thing. And when you do the unemployment, if you get stuck in the situation that I've been in, and you end up being where you have to ask for or deal with unemployment, you have to go through obstacles. But the main reason why I got unemployment, thank God I got it, is because they were in the wrong. The school was in the wrong. Okay. And obviously, the proof was because I was making these before they actually became like a thing on a larger scale. I know Asia was doing a pretty good job, but America was so like, oh, we're panicking. Oh, we can't handle it. They were not focused. There was no like organization. That's why I think that's why it got so bad. But if people had listened and made them in their houses before it actually became like a thing, I'm pretty sure more people would have been able to have been saved. But that's just my take. Just my take. I'm having a rant today. I'm sorry. It's just a day for me because I'm just sort of, yeah. Welcome in, guys. But yes, I feel as if, I just feel as if the people in their 20s and 19-year-olds and 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds need to listen to grown-ups a little bit more. I might not have any kids of my own, but I have certainly had plenty of students who did follow my instructions and actually got pretty far in what they did because they actually were ready to listen. Okay. That's like the biggest takeaway is that when you're ready to listen, more things start to happen. That's just, and just the same thing applies for being on YouTube. If you're going to create a channel, make sure that you follow the instructions on what they're asking you to do. Like, for instance, if they say, and it's now a public thing, right? You can go into the back end of your channel and it will tell you if you're like, if you have copyright strikes and all that stuff. That's the reason why I'm so meticulous about trying to do everything right the first time. Just like a job. You got to do everything right the first time. Don't just like, I'm like cool like that because I got like a managerial job or I'm like a director because of my dad. Like, you better know what you're doing or it's going to be a big problem in the future. That's just my personal take. I've experienced it. I didn't have a cocky attitude when my dad was a diplomat. In fact, I tried not to tell people about it because I knew that that would give people the wrong impression on me. So I stayed to myself on most occasions, but I knew what I knew. I knew what I was doing. I understood how to do things in the office. Okay, so that's the one thing is that when younger people hire older people, which is what's happening now in the workforce, and the work environments, is that the younger people, because they don't have the understanding of many, many, many jobs in the past, will just assume just because they're like the manager or the director, they have the say. But the older person that's working there that got hired because they got maybe fired from another job might actually know a little bit more than people think. So the assumption is all wrong. Like I think people get it wrong. I think that's the problem, right? Is I think that the younger generation assume that they can like just take people and just put them in a corner and tell them what to do. But that's not how it works. Like you got to get advice from people who know what they're doing. That's like the step number 1. So I was going to go into the back end of my YouTube channel, and they now have go to switch account status. Okay, so I'm going to go to my account status. So you can keep track of where you are with your account. But on this channel, okay, I try to tell people, you want to keep it like that. You don't want to have channel violations, nothing, green. Ability to earn green. That's what it should look like. And I have over 1,000 something videos. So it's all about listening to instructions, whether it's in a job, whether it's learning how to sew something, whether it's dealing with other people in an office space. People need to just learn to listen more. That's my takeaway from my experience of being somebody that's a little bit older, that has a little bit more life experience in job positions. And I've had many jobs. Like you can go on to my resume and you can see all the jobs that I've had. I've had jobs in fashion. I've had jobs in music. I've had jobs working with producers. I've had jobs making clothing for boutiques. I've had jobs working in the embassy. I've had jobs. I've had plenty of jobs. I've had plenty of jobs that I feel as if I'm qualified enough to say that you need to have these particular skills to make certain things happen. And specifically on channels and platforms, you want to make sure that you're reading the instructions and you're learning how to do certain things correctly the first time. You don't want to have, like I did on this video that I did, the short video. You don't want to have a whole bunch of like, you don't want to hire people, or you don't want to be hired by a bunch of clowns. Like it just looks bad. It looks bad. It looks bad. If you're hiring people that don't know what they're doing, they just do stupid things. And if you're being hired by somebody that's absolutely like clueless, it's also just as bad. So like the whole point is like be thoughtful with how you go about doing things. Like don't just assume that because you're cool like that, or because people think that they know what they're doing, they know what they're doing. They don't. They don't. They don't. I'm just putting it out there because I've had my moment with people who are younger than me that hire me, and they really don't know what they're doing. And then you try to like give advice, and they don't want to listen because they just don't know what's going on. So that's just my personal take. I'm on this YouTube journey because I was forced out of a job. Okay, I was forced out of a job at a younger age than I expected. Okay, a Gen Xer. I suppose Gen Xers are being forced out of jobs now, right? That's like the whole thing is like the new generation is coming over and they think they can just like run the show. So that has been my biggest like problem, is that I feel as if this is the time to acknowledge that not everybody knows everything, and the younger generation should actually listen to the older generation, which is what I happen to be. Uh, because I listened to the older generation too when I was younger, and still now, you know. My partner's about 10 years older, 10 years, 7 years older than me, 7 years older than me, yeah. But I still take instructions, hey? I still take instructions. I listen. When he says do this, I listen. I follow instructions. I follow instructions. And if you do it right the first time, you will win every every direction or goal that you're trying to make. So I'm having a short little live. I don't know how long I've been on. A short little, sorry. But I think the biggest concern is that people who are who are hiring older people for their positions or jobs, think that the older people might not necessarily know what they're doing. But we've had so many jobs in the past. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm 46. I'm not 25. I think people mistaken me for like a younger person, but I'm not. I'm sorry. Definitely shorter than some people of my age. Give me a second. Coughing. I know you guys can hear me now. Getting a lozenge here. Coughing. Is I feel that people are not sensitive enough about the older generation and the assumptions, right? Sorry, give me 2 seconds. Lozenge moment. I'll feed you just now, Dior. Okay. Oh, gosh. Yeah. So the assumptions of, I think now I would generally at 46 I would probably have like a kid, right? But I was not like lucky enough to have that. I had situations that happened to me in my life that has created some real problems physically. So I haven't personally been able to have a kid of my own, if that makes a difference. But I've, like, technically speaking, I've raised kids who I taught and I worked with in different schools, because that's what I did. Taught music, taught art. And I'm doing that right now on this channel, right? As I'm teaching things. I'm not doing this for an entertainment-based situation, but more of morality in society. That's what my channel is about, is that it's a moral-based environment. I don't curse on here. I don't curse on any of the platforms that I have, because I feel as if there's an importance to understand that we have standards. We should have standards as beings, as individuals. We shouldn't be rowdy and loud and curse people out and constantly tell people what to do. It's both ways. It plays both ways. Adults should do that and then younger people should also do that. We should have respect on mutual levels, right? That is the one thing we're missing right now. And I was hoping that my channel, because I've actually put like before, when I didn't have the blockers, I had big problems because I was doing music, and then I had younger people that were coming in and giving me like their attitude about, oh yeah, I'm cool, like listen to my music and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is my channel, and you shouldn't be telling me how to like behave, because this is my channel. So I started putting blockers on because I was sort of tired of dealing with the younger people, not all younger people, but the younger people who dealt with music, who like to do rap, giving me the hoo-haws about what they think that should be happening with the music. And I'm like, no, this is what I do. This is how I deal with things. So it's just about instruction taking. And I just feel as if our youth is losing their minds. I feel like the direction is disappearing. So my channel was to be that balanced space, right? That balanced space to teach about education, some entertainment, but on most cases, my channel is for the educational based situation. I'll do the sewing, I'll make like the art, but that's for my business. I'm building a business. I'm not just like creating it for the sake of creating it for social media, but I'm actually building something. Like I built websites, built my own websites. And I'm trying to create my own job, because after what had happened to me and being my age and being fired for being my age and knowing too much, I just finally thought, you know what? The economy or the general job environment is obviously just not where I belong. Is because that's the problem, right? The problem is people don't want to hire the people that know what they're doing because they feel incompetent. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, in most cases, they should feel incompetent because they don't know what they're doing. That's why they hire people. And only to find, I mean, I just feel as if there are so many things that are just wrong about everything. So I got my unemployment. I won that. I have another thing that I'm hopefully receiving because that needed to happen as well. I broke my leg, so now I had to deal with the disability claims. So it's been a complete mess in my life, but I've stabilized my goals and my direction by keeping focus, and YouTube has actually been my center, my focal point to keep the stability going because I think without this, there would be like, I wouldn't have been able to create a job from home that would allow me to get up and move around when I have to because of my injured leg. Oh, I have a piece of I have a piece of metal in my leg. It's not just, oh, she broke her leg. It's like I broke my leg and I have a piece of metal. Let me show you. Yeah, that's about right. Let me just see. Oh, yeah. The metal that I have in my leg is about the size of this. Actually, that's about right. So I have this lodged in my leg now. Okay, so that's basically what I'm dealing with at the moment. So I can't do a lot of the things that I used to, which is like my biggest issue. So I found that things like knitting and doing like clothing stuff and making things became, oh, and then editing videos and all. These are the things that I was able to do because of the circumstance. I can't run around after kids anymore. There's like no way that could happen. So I'm just talking through the changes in people's bodies when you get a little bit older and things do happen. Like your bones tend to break a little bit more than somebody of the age of 20. If I were to slip and trip on a piece of ice, like I used to do snowboarding, like I loved my snowboarding. I used to do jumps and everything. So for me to have that happen at, what was that, like 45 years ago? At 42, it was like a bit of a shocker. I was like, how could I have broken my leg on ice? But it happens. When you get older, your body doesn't react the same way as it does when you're younger. So when you injure yourself, it's like a serious injury. It's not just a thing like, oh, trip and haha, fall and all that stuff. It's like, oh, I'm in a hospital now because I tripped and did something to my body. So I just want to keep people like conscious about, like, when you are a young person, be aware that if you are going to be hiring people, like, be conscious that the people who you hire who are older than you might actually have a lot of experience with different jobs. Um, and listen, like, I think it's important to do teamwork and listen to the people and get advice. Like, get advice. Like, we might be in situations at our age because of the fact that life is changing, and like, I just know it's different here in the States than it is overseas. Like, South Africa, you would still have the older generation working the normal jobs, and then the young people would still be struggling to find jobs because that's just how it works in South Africa. Here, it's the reversed thing. People are being pushed out of jobs when they're older, and then when you're younger, it's like they're wanting the younger people. It's reversed, totally reversed than it is in the rest of the world. I just think the U.S. works differently. Just my personal opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like how to, if you end up losing your job, how to get the unemployment, but you need to be like honest. You need to say, listen, I lost my job because they were wrong. If you didn't lose your job and they were right about you losing your job, then you can't get unemployment. Like they have to be morally wrong to have fired you in order to actually receive that. Same thing applies for disability and all that. You have to have like your facts. You have to have your facts. Like I had a whole case. This is me going into the disability office. Over 500 pages. Over 500 pages. I handed over 500 pages of research on myself to get disability. Okay. So if you're going to do it the first time, as I always say, do it right the first time. Because if you don't do it right the first time, the headache between and after is going to be more catastrophic than doing it right the first time. Just do it right. Just like unemployment. Do it right the first time. Do it right the first time. Drop off a large case with facts if you're going to do disabilities. Drop off or speak to the right people and fill out those forms correctly if you're going to do unemployment. It all is connected. And somebody who worked for the visa department for the U.S. Embassy, that's how people don't get their visas. If you can't fill out a form, right? If you can't fill out a form and they say, if the government or the visa department says, fill out a form, we need you to do this, that, and the other. And this is how you need to get your visa, right? Do it. Don't just, oh, I'm going to give them 3 pages. Give them all of it. Where you're going to be working, who you're going to be working for, where you're going to be staying, where are you going to be, like, how long are you going to be in the country? It's all connected. It's all connected. Whether people like it or not, it's all connected. Speak to the people, That's just my personal take on somebody who worked in the embassy. That's like, I've been there. I already know how it feels to, like, anyway. So the whole point is I'm running my own thing, and this channel is not just about entertainment. I'm a 46-year-old that's teaching morality throughout different forms of the arts, business, and structure, because I'm not playing around anymore. Like, I'm too old to be like just doing this because it's fun and cool. Okay, that's just my personal take on whatever it is that I'm doing. It's like, I take everything seriously, not even with a grain of salt. I take everything seriously, from doing music production to making a garment to designing, I don't know, a piece of furniture, to a painting that I'm doing everything to the best of my ability. Same thing applies for job interviews, best of your ability. You do it all right the first time. End of story. Oh, there's my husband. Okay, gotta go. See you later. Bye.